Welcome in to Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Right now, we are tackling the tough question, why did the Jacksonville Jaguars trade for offensive lineman Cole Van Lanen? We'll tackle that right now, but first, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you do not miss a show on here. You can follow me at Jordan DeLugo on Twitter, Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. So yesterday, Tuesday, August 23rd, the Jacksonville Jaguars traded a 7th-round pick for second-year offensive lineman Cole Van Lanen from the Green Bay Packers. He was a 6th-round pick out of Wisconsin in 2021, just a year ago, where he played left tackle. He's 24 years old, and he was a Green Bay native, so this move might sting a little bit, unfortunately, for Van Lanen, but I'm sure he'll come into Jacksonville with a great attitude and mindset. Academic All-Conference and was named to multiple All-Conference and even second-team All-American during his time at Wisconsin, protecting the blind side over on the left side at left tackle. He tested well from an athleticism standpoint when you're looking at pre-draft testing. He earned high marks in the speed testing and the quickness testing and average marks in explosiveness. He has the versatility to play tackle and guard on both sides of the line. You've seen that not only from his time at Wisconsin playing left tackle. Since he's gotten to Green Bay, he's played right tackle and left guard for the Packers. Does not have any real regular season experience, but throughout the preseason last year, preseason this year, training camp in the offseason, you've seen a decent sample size of him playing both right tackle and left guard. This preseason in 2022 and the 2 games that he's played in primarily has aligned at left guard, and he has not allowed a single quarterback pressure. He's looked effective in the running game as well. Certainly a player who, after just watching the snaps that he's had this preseason, I'm impressed with what he will bring to Jacksonville. And you say, all right, well then why did the Packers move on? Why did they give him up for just a 7th-round pick? They're loaded along their offensive line, and the addition of Zach Tom during the draft this year in the 4th round, a guy that definitely should have gone on day 2 of the draft, gives them even more talent and versatility and flexibility because Tom can play realistically potentially all 3 different spots on the offensive line when you're talking about tackle, guard, and center. He has that type of versatility and flexibility in his game. And so when you look at the Packers' offensive line room, it comes down to a numbers game. With Bakhtiari getting back, David Bakhtiari, their starting left tackle, the numbers started to look where potentially Cole Van Lanen was going to end up being a roster cut, when the team cuts down to 53. So instead of just, cutting Cole Van Lanen and hoping to get him back on their practice squad, which they assumed would not happen, the Packers decided, why don't we get some value out of him right now? Why don't we get some value out of him before we have to potentially release him? So you trade a 7th-round pick. Makes a lot of sense for the Packers in that regard. It's not as if they did not like what he brought to the table, but again, in the NFL roster construction, it's a numbers game. When you are loaded at a certain spot, if you're going to end up having to release someone who teams are going to be interested in, you might as well try to get the most value that you can out of them. And that's what the Packers did here. And from the Jaguars' perspective, you could say, well, if the Packers were going to release him, why would you trade a 7th-round pick? Well, you don't know what other teams might come knocking for Cole Van Lanen's services in between now and the time the 53-man roster cuts. The Jaguars do have number 1 waiver priority. So yes, had another team not put in a trade offer for Van Lanen, yeah, they could have picked him up. But you don't know if that's going to happen or not. So instead of risking it, they saw a player that they wanted to go bring in, and they were aggressive in doing so. And again, only giving up a 7th-round pick. Not a big deal here for the Jaguars in terms of that type of draft capital. The Jags have some injuries along their O-line, especially to the depth when you've looked at Will Richardson getting injured, Badara Traore. So Van Lanen kind of shores up the group's depth on the OL. At the very least, again, can play guard or tackle. With his hand usage and consistently that he's displayed throughout his career at Wisconsin and in his preseason snaps for the Packers this year, I would not be surprised if he eventually finds his way into the starting lineup at left guard for the Jaguars, where it appears currently that Ben Barch is the front runner for the starting spot. But just comparing Van Lanen to Barch, when you look at their preseason tape, it's clear that Van Lanen is playing with more consistency in both the run and passing game. Now, Ben Barch does have more experience. He has more draft pedigree. He has more time invested in him by this coaching staff and front office. But Van Lanen's playing at a very high level, playing very consistently. His hand usage is excellent, very active hands. He knows how to frame up blocks when he gets to the second level, and he's just been very impactful for the Packers at left guard so far this preseason. Will he start? Will he have the opportunity to start in Jacksonville? I don't know. But I do know that spending a 7th-round pick on a player of his caliber makes a lot of sense for a team that needs more talented depth along their offensive line. That is going to do it. Thank you so much for tuning in, Duval. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag, and make sure to hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. If you want to support the channel further, go ahead and go check out our website. You can pre-order one of our brand new Duval 1995 throwback shirts. They're flying off the shelves right now. You can pre-order it and lock in your order over at genjag.com/shop. I'll drop a link in the description below. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, Duval.